a small town where secrets were supposed to stay hidden, she vanished without a trace. 13-year-old Erica Lynn Parsons was last seen alive in December 2011. Her disappearance didn't immediately set off alarms. There were no Amber Alerts, no news flashes, no frantic neighborhood searches. According to her adoptive parents, Erica had simply gone to live with her biological grandmother, a woman they called Nan. No one questioned the story at first. Not the neighbors, not the extended family, not even the authorities. For 2 years, no one looked for Erica. And that was exactly what her adoptive parents, Casey and Sandy Parsons, were counting on. This is the untold trace, where deception fades and the truth is finally uncovered. It wasn't until 2013, nearly 2 years after Erica disappeared, that anyone realized something was deeply wrong. Her adoptive brother, Jamie Parsons, finally stepped forward. In a chilling interview with investigators, he made a statement that would shatter the illusion forever. She's not with any grandmother. She's dead. From that moment on, the story unraveled. The supposed Nan didn't exist. Erica had never left the house. And behind the walls of the modest North Carolina home, investigators would uncover a twisted web of lies, abuse, and horrifying neglect. But perhaps the most disturbing part? The FBI believed them. For a time, so did everyone else. Casey and Sandy Parsons had constructed a narrative so convincing they fooled some of the most seasoned investigators in the country. Their story had holes, but they patched them with tears, fake phone calls, and detailed lies. They had answers for everything, until they didn't. She left on her own terms, Sandy insisted. She wanted to meet her real family. We talked to her, Casey claimed. She's fine, they insisted. They cried, they lied, and all the while, Erica was already dead. This is the story of a girl who never stood a chance, a system that failed her, and two people who played the perfect part, until the truth clawed its way to the surface. Over the next chapters, we'll explore the horrifying truth behind Erica Parsons' disappearance, how a young girl endured years of unimaginable suffering, how her killers convinced the world she was safe, and how eventually the mask slipped. We'll walk through the twisted trail of deception, from the first lie to the final arrest, and show how even the FBI can be misled when evil wears a convincing smile. Because sometimes, the most chilling crimes are the ones that unfold right in front of us, unnoticed, unchallenged, and unthinkable. This isn't just a story of a missing child. It's a story of trust betrayed, of innocence lost, of justice delayed, but not denied. Welcome to the Untold Trace. Let's begin. Before the lies, before the headlines, and before the horror, there was a little girl named Erica Lynn Parsons. Born on February 24, 1998 in Moore County, North Carolina, Erica's life began under troubled circumstances. Her biological mother, Carolyn Parsons, was struggling, battling personal demons, unstable relationships, and financial hardship. Erica was just a baby when the state stepped in, and she was placed with relatives. Her biological aunt, Casey Parsons, and her husband, Sandy Parsons. On paper, it seemed like a second chance. Casey and Sandy Parsons were already parents to several biological children. To social workers and family members, they appeared stable, responsible, willing to take in a child in need. By 2000, they had legally adopted Erica, and she became part of their growing family in Salisbury, North Carolina. But behind closed doors, Erica was never truly accepted. From an early age, she was treated differently. She was not one of them, and she knew it. According to later testimony, Erica was neglected, belittled, and isolated, often left out of family activities, denied food, and subjected to cruel punishments for the smallest infractions. As the years went by, the abuse escalated. She was pulled out of public school in 2011 under the pretense of being homeschooled, but no records were ever submitted. There were no lesson plans, no assignments, no academic future. Instead, Erica spent her days doing chores, staying silent, and avoiding punishment. She became invisible. To the world outside, she was just another quiet child in a big family. To her adoptive parents, she was a scapegoat, a punching bag for frustrations, and a victim with nowhere to turn. She was too afraid to speak up, one relative would later say. And when she did, no one believed her. There were signs, small ones. Neighbors noticed Erica looked thin, frail even. Relatives noticed she didn't come to family events. But the Parsons always had answers. She's sick. She's visiting her grandmother. She's just shy. In truth, Erica was being systematically cut off from the outside world, piece by piece, until only her abusers remained. Then came the stories of Nan. Sometime in late 2011, Casey Parsons began telling people that Erica had gone to live with her biological grandmother, a woman named Irene Goodman, whom they nicknamed Nan. According to Casey, Erica wanted to reconnect with her roots, and this mysterious grandmother was supposedly living in Asheville, North Carolina. No one ever met Nan. No one ever spoke to her. But the Parsons insisted she was real. Erica's happy now, Casey told friends. She's where she wants to be. What they didn't know was that Nan was a complete fabrication, a ghost designed to explain away Erica's disappearance without raising suspicion. And for 2 years, it worked. There were no welfare checks, no police reports, no missing person bulletins. Because as far as the world knew, Erica was with family, just not the kind that leaves bruises. Behind the walls of the Parsons home, the truth was buried deeper with every passing day, and Erica's voice, small, silenced and forgotten, was fading fast. This section of the story reminds us that not all abuse screams loud enough to be heard. Sometimes it whispers in the dark. Sometimes it hides in the polite smiles of good families. And sometimes the people trusted to protect a child are the ones she needs protection from the most. In the next chapter, we'll look at how the lies began to unravel and how a shocking confession from someone inside the house finally forced the world to ask, where is Erica Parsons? For 2 long years, Erica Parsons' absence was hidden behind a carefully crafted lie, one that was never questioned. That all changed in 2013 when someone inside the Parsons' own home finally cracked. His name was Jamie Parsons, Erica's adoptive brother. On the surface, Jamie seemed like just another teenager in a chaotic household. But beneath the surface, he had been harboring a dark, unbearable secret. One summer day in July 2013, Jamie walked into the Rowan County Sheriff's Office and told him something that would blow the case wide open. "My sister's been missing for 2 years," he said, "and she didn't go to live with her grandma. That person doesn't even exist." Investigators were stunned. Up to that point, there had been no missing persons report, no police investigation, no trace that anyone was even looking for Erica. And now, a family member was saying, not only was she missing, but the entire story was a fabrication. Jamie claimed he had witnessed years of abuse. He described Erica being starved, physically punished, locked in a closet, and even beaten with a belt buckle. Sometimes she was forced to eat dog food, sometimes her own feces. What he described went far beyond neglect. It was systematic torture. Suddenly, the authorities had a case, but they had no idea where to start. There were no school records, no medical records, no photos. It was like Erica had simply been erased. Investigators moved quickly. Within days, the Parsons home was raided. Boxes of documents, photos, and electronic devices were seized. The public watched in disbelief as a picture of model adopted parents began to fall apart. Casey and Sandy Parsons stuck to their story. Erica, they claimed, had gone to live with her biological grandmother, a woman named Irene Nan Goodman, whom they met only once. They didn't know her number, they didn't know her address, and they hadn't seen Erica since 2011. She was doing better with Nan, Casey insisted to reporters. She's happy there. But detectives were already one step ahead. They ran every available record for Irene Goodman in North Carolina. No such person existed. No phone bills, no license, no tax returns, no grandmother, no Nan. The public began to ask, where was Erica? And what were her parents hiding? The Parsons were brought in for multiple interviews. But the more they spoke, the more their stories collapsed under pressure. Timelines didn't match. Descriptions of events shifted. Phone records contradicted their statements. Yet without a body or a clear sign of what happened, there was little prosecutors could do. For the next 3 years, Erica Parsons' name became a haunting echo through news broadcasts and cold case reports. Billboards went up, press conferences were held, but no one came forward. And the Parsons? They moved to Fayetteville, hundreds of miles away. What should have been a full criminal investigation turned into a legal stalemate until a federal prosecutor stepped in with a different approach. In 2014, Casey and Sandy were charged, not with murder, but with fraud. Using Erica's name, they had continued collecting adoption subsidies, food stamps, and medical benefits long after she vanished. The government alleged they had stolen over $12,000 by pretending Erica was still alive. It wasn't justice, but it was leverage. In 2015, both were convicted on multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy. Casey received 10 years in prison. Sandy, 8 years. Still, the biggest question loomed over everything. Where is Erica Parsons? The walls were closing in. The country was watching. And behind bars, the truth was beginning to rot inside them. In the next section, we uncover how one of them finally broke and led investigators to a shallow grave that would shock the world. Years had passed since Erica Parsons disappeared. Her name still echoed in news cycles, true crime forums, and on cold case boards. But her fate remained a chilling mystery. Until one day in 2016, when the silence finally broke. Sandy Parsons, Erica's adoptive father, was now serving an 8-year federal sentence for fraud at a prison in Butner, North Carolina. For years, he'd stuck to the story. Erica had gone to live with Nan, but behind bars, something shifted. Maybe it was the pressure, maybe it was guilt, or maybe he feared dying with the truth on his conscience. In a stunning twist, Sandy reached out to investigators and said he was ready to talk. "I'll tell you what happened," he said, "but I need a deal." What followed was a chilling confession, one that would shake even seasoned FBI agents. Sandy claimed Erica died in late 2011, not long after the last time anyone outside the family had seen her alive. He said she was being punished by Casey, forced to stand in a corner for hours, denied food, and repeatedly hit. When Erica's condition worsened, Sandy said, they did nothing. One morning, he woke up to find Erica's lifeless body in the bathroom. But instead of calling 911, they hid her body. Sandy described how he and Casey wrapped Erica in plastic and stored her in a storage bin in their home for days, while their other children slept nearby. Eventually, he drove hundreds of miles to Chesterfield County, South Carolina, to a patch of rural land owned by his family. There, under cover of night, he dug a shallow grave and buried Erica near the edge of a field, surrounded by trees and silence. The FBI, along with local authorities, immediately followed his directions. And on September 29, 2016, 5 years after Erica Parsons vanished, her remains were found. The grave was just as Sandy had described, shallow, makeshift, and horrifyingly real. Investigators recovered skeletal remains wrapped in plastic and clothing fragments buried beneath a thin layer of soil. DNA testing later confirmed it was Erica. Public outrage exploded. The media descended on the scene. Candlelight vigils erupted across North Carolina. Erica, the girl so many had forgotten or never knew, was finally going to rest. But the confession raised deeper questions. Why didn't they seek help when Erica was dying? Why did they continue lying? To their family, their church, the government, for years? And how did they hide her absence from everyone for so long? Investigators began building a new case, one focused not just on fraud or neglect, but murder. Autopsy reports revealed signs of long-term abuse. Multiple fractures had healed improperly. Malnutrition was clear. Although the exact cause of death couldn't be determined, the findings painted a picture of sustained, systemic cruelty. In 2018, the state of North Carolina brought murder charges against both Sandy and Casey Parsons. Sandy pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 33 years in prison. Casey took her chances with a trial and lost. She was convicted of first-degree murder, felony child abuse, and obstruction of justice, receiving life in prison without parole. The story had finally come full circle, from a fabricated grandmother to a hidden grave to a courtroom packed with grieving relatives and stunned jurors. But justice, while served, offered little comfort. Erica Parsons was gone, her childhood stolen, her voice silenced by the very people entrusted to love and protect her. This was not just a case of abuse. It was a case of clear, constructed illusion, one that unraveled only when the weight of guilt became too heavy to bear. And for Erica, all that remained was a headstone. Gone, but never forgotten. Child abuse, particularly in the context of adoption, is a deeply distressing and complex issue that often goes unnoticed, both within families and by society at large. The abuse of adopted children by their adoptive parents is a painful betrayal of the trust that children place in their caregivers. Adoption ideally is an act of love and compassion, providing children with a new family and the opportunity to thrive in a safe, nurturing environment. Unfortunately, in some cases, the reality is far different. The dark reality of abuse in adoption. When a child is adopted, they are typically vulnerable, often coming from traumatic backgrounds or difficult circumstances. Many adopted children have already experienced neglect, abandonment, or abuse before being placed in their new home. In theory, adoption offers these children a fresh start, a chance to heal, feel secure, and experience love. However, the sad truth is that some adoptive parents may engage in behaviors that mirror or even worsen the mistreatment these children have already endured. Adoptive parents often face unique challenges in raising children, especially those who have been in the foster care system or have experienced significant trauma. However, the act of adopting a child should come with a sense of responsibility, compassion, and an understanding that the child's emotional and psychological needs must be prioritized. When parents fail to meet those needs, or worse, actively harm their adopted children, the consequences are devastating. Types of abuse in adoption. Abuse can take many forms, including physical, emotional, sexual, and neglect. Each of these forms of abuse can leave lasting scars on a child's development, sometimes impairing their ability to form healthy relationships or trust others in the future. 1. Physical abuse. This involves the use of physical force to cause harm to a child. In the context of adoption, physical abuse may manifest as hitting, kicking, burning, or any other form of violent discipline. Some adoptive parents may view this as a necessary form of discipline, not realizing the damaging long-term effects it can have on a child's mental health. 2. Emotional abuse. Emotional abuse can be even more insidious than physical violence because its effects are not immediately visible. Emotional abuse can include verbal assaults, humiliation, belittling, or manipulation. Adoptive parents who emotionally abuse their children may try to control or isolate them, making the child feel worthless or unloved. These tactics can deeply affect a child's self-esteem and sense of worth, often leaving them with lifelong emotional scars. 3. Sexual abuse. Sexual abuse within adoptive families is one of the most heinous forms of exploitation, where children are subjected to inappropriate behavior by their caregivers. This can include molestation, rape, or any other form of sexual exploitation. The trauma of sexual abuse can haunt children for their entire lives, severely affecting their emotional and mental well-being. 4. Neglect. Neglect can occur when adoptive parents fail to provide for the basic physical and emotional needs of their children. This includes a lack of adequate food, shelter, medical care, or supervision. In cases where adoptive parents are neglectful, children may experience developmental delays, mental health issues, and an inability to trust others. Factors contributing to abuse in adoption. While the underlying causes of abuse are complex and varied, certain factors increase the likelihood that an adoptive parent may engage in abusive behavior. These factors can include: 1. Unrealistic expectations. Some adoptive parents may have unrealistic expectations about what adoption will be like. They may believe that simply providing a home for a child is enough to make them better, or that the child will immediately bond with them, forgetting the psychological scars the child may carry. When the child struggles to adjust, some parents may react with frustration or anger, which can lead to abusive behavior. 2. Lack of preparedness. Adoption requires a high level of emotional maturity, patience, and understanding. Parents who are not adequately prepared for the emotional and psychological complexities of adoption may struggle to respond appropriately to the needs of their child. This lack of preparation can make adoptive parents more likely to lash out or neglect their child's needs. 3. Trauma transference. In some cases, adoptive parents may project their own resolved traumas onto the child. If an adoptive parent has experienced abuse or neglect in their own past, they may unintentionally replicate these behaviors with their adopted child. The cycle of abuse can be perpetuated when trauma is not addressed or healed. 4. Misguided discipline. Some adoptive parents may believe in harsh or punitive forms of discipline. This could include corporal punishment or other severe measures to correct a child's behavior. While discipline is a necessary part of parenting, when it crosses the line into abuse, it can cause lasting harm to the child's emotional development. 5. Lack of support systems. Adoption is an often isolating process. Parents may feel alone in their efforts, especially if they are raising children with complex emotional need. Without proper support, adoptive parents may struggle to cope with the stresses of parenting. This lack of support can increase the likelihood of abusive behavior, as parents may feel overwhelmed or powerless to meet their child's needs. 6. Mental health issues. Some adoptive parents may suffer from mental health conditions that impair their ability to provide proper care for their child. Conditions such as depression, anxiety, or personality disorders can impact a parent's capacity to nurture and protect their child. In extreme cases, untreated mental health issues can contribute to abusive behavior. The consequences for children. The consequences of abuse for adopted children can be devastating. Children who are abused by their adoptive parents may develop a range of emotional, psychological, and behavioral problems. These can include attachment issues. Abuse can severely impact a child's ability to form healthy attachments. Children who have been abused often struggle to trust adults, which can affect their ability to form relationships throughout their lives. Mental health disorders. The trauma of abuse can lead to conditions such as anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, or eating disorders. These conditions may persist into adulthood, affecting the individual's quality of life and ability to function in society. Self-esteem issues. Abuse, especially emotional and verbal abuse, can significantly damage a child's self-esteem. Children who are repeatedly told they are worthless or unlovable may internalize these messages, leading to feelings of inadequacy and self-hatred. Behavioral problems. Abused children may display problematic behaviors, such as aggression, withdrawal, or acting out. These behaviors are often a cry for help and may be a way of coping with the pain of their experiences. Difficulty in relationships. Having experienced betrayal by the people who were supposed to love and protect them, abused children may have trouble forming healthy relationships in the future. They may struggle with trust, intimacy, and communication, which can affect their personal and professional lives as they grow older. The role of adoption agencies and society. While adoptive parents bear the primary responsibility for the care of their children, adoption agencies and society at large also have roles to play in preventing abuse. Adoption agencies must carefully screen potential adoptive parents to ensure that they are fit to care for children. This includes assessing their emotional readiness, financial stability, and ability to meet the child's needs. Adoption agencies should also provide ongoing support to adoptive families, offering counseling, parenting classes, and a network of resources to help parents cope with the challenges of raising adopted children. In some cases, additional support from mental health professionals may be necessary, particularly when a child has experienced significant trauma in their early life. Society as a whole must also be vigilant in recognizing the signs of child abuse and reporting suspected cases. Abuse often goes unnoticed because children are afraid to speak out, or they are too young to express what they are experiencing. Teachers, doctors, and other professionals who work with children must be trained to recognize the signs of abuse and take appropriate action to protect children from harm. Conclusion. The abuse of adopted children is a heartbreaking and preventable tragedy. Children who are placed for adoption are often already dealing with the trauma of abandonment, neglect, or abuse. When these children are subjected to further mistreatment by the very people who are supposed to care for them, it only adds to the burden they must carry. Adoptive parents must recognize that adoption is not just about providing a home. It is about offering a safe, loving, and supportive environment for children to heal and thrive. The challenges of adoption should not be an excuse for abuse, but rather an opportunity for parents to learn and grow alongside their children. With the right support, education, and commitment, abuse can be prevented and adopted children can finally experience the love and care they deserve. When the news of Erica Parsons' fate was confirmed in 2016, it didn't just close a case, it cracked open a collective wound. From Salisbury, North Carolina, to the far corners of the country, people were stunned, heartbroken, and angry. A child had disappeared, and for 5 long years, almost no one asked the right questions. Her story, overlooked, dismissed, buried, now became a national headline. The media called it a modern-day horror story. Talk shows debated the failures of the foster system, the blind spots in welfare monitoring, and the unchecked power of manipulative parents. True crime bloggers, journalists, and podcasters pored over the court documents. But beyond the facts, something deeper resonated. How did we let this happen? In North Carolina, a wave of guilt swept over the local community. Erica had lived in plain sight. Neighbors recalled seeing her, and then not seeing her. Teachers noticed her absence, but no one followed up. It was a haunting reminder that silence enables suffering. A candlelight vigil was held on the steps of the Rowan County Courthouse, where hundreds gathered to mourn the little girl they barely knew. Some held posters with Erica's face, others brought flowers and teddy bears. A children's choir sang "You Are My Sunshine," the same lullaby Erica's aunt remembered singing to her when she was little. Across social media, #JusticeForErica trended for days. Activists and educators used the hashtag to call attention to child abuse, neglect, and adoptive parent screenings. Erica became a symbol, not just of what went wrong, but of what must never be repeated. Politicians began calling for reform. New proposals were drafted in the North Carolina legislature to mandate routine check-ins for children under long-term guardianship and to improve data sharing between schools and social services. Although some measures stalled in committee, Erica's case became a catalyst for conversation. But perhaps the most lasting legacy came from the children who survived. The Parsons biological kids, who had grown up under the same roof, began opening up years later. Some gave statements during sentencing. Others simply disappeared from the public eye, seeking to heal from years of psychological trauma. One of Erica's relatives, her biological brother, gave a moving statement to the court. She deserved better. She was sweet. She smiled even when they hurt her. The story also sparked deeper introspection among families, especially those with adopted or foster children. Therapists began referencing Erica's case as an example of unseen trauma, warning caregivers about the dangers of emotional neglect and the illusion of a normal household. In true crime communities, Erica's name is often spoken alongside those of Gabriel Fernandez and Sylvia Likens, children who endured terrible cruelty from those meant to protect them. But in contrast to many victims, Erica's memory didn't fade into a headline archive. Her story lingered on Reddit boards, YouTube channels, Facebook memorial pages, and court transcripts. She became a cautionary tale, a call to vigilance, a symbol of a failed system and a silenced voice finally heard. Some locals began fundraising for a memorial park bench in her name. Others simply stopped by her grave to leave notes, toys, or prayers. "We didn't know you, Erica," one card read, "but we love you. We will never forget you." And indeed, they didn't. In the years since her body was recovered, every anniversary brought fresh flowers to her resting place. True crime documentaries, including this one, ensured her story would be told, not for entertainment, but for awareness. Because in telling Erica's story, we do more than revisit tragedy. We make a silent promise: no more invisible children. In the end, the story of Erica Parsons is not just about crime. It's about how truth can be buried, both literally and emotionally, when no one chooses to listen. Erica wasn't kidnapped by a stranger. She wasn't taken in the dead of night. She was failed by the very people who claimed to love her. Casey and Sandy Parsons didn't wear masks or wield weapons. They wore smiles. They told stories. And somehow they fooled almost everyone: friends, family, law enforcement, and even the FBI. For years. It's easy to look back with outrage, to question the doctors who signed off on her health, the teachers who stopped asking questions, the relatives who noticed inconsistencies but didn't push. But hindsight isn't justice. It's a mirror, showing us the cracks in the system and the blind spots in our own humanity. How many other Ericas are out there? Children living in houses that appear fine on the outside, but hide trauma behind closed doors. Children who've been silenced, manipulated, or made invisible by the very structure meant to protect them. The haunting part of Erica's case is not just the abuse, it's the duration. Years of missed signs, years of excuses, the absence of accountability. It wasn't just what was done to her, but what was never done for her. Her death wasn't a sudden act of violence, it was a slow erasure. One report at a time, one lie at a time, one adult turning the other way at a time. And yet, even in death, Erica found a way to speak. The shallow grave couldn't keep her story hidden. Her remains may have been buried, but the truth rose from that earth with a vengeance, demanding answers, awakening guilt, and igniting a fire for justice in those who heard her name for the first time. We at the Untold Trace believe stories like Erica's should never be reduced to shock value. This isn't just another headline, it's a warning, a memory, a legacy. Because stories like hers don't just end, they echo. They echo in classrooms where a teacher takes an extra moment to ask a quiet child how they're really doing. They echo in the call centers where hotline workers listen more carefully. They echo in neighbors who choose to knock, check in, speak up. They echo in reforms, in laws, in awareness, and most importantly, they echo in remembrance. So as we close this documentary, we invite you not just to feel sorrow, but to act. Support organizations that fight for child protection. Educate yourself and others on the signs of abuse and neglect. And if you suspect something, say something. One voice can shatter 1,000 lies. Erica Parsons may not have had the life she deserved, but her story has power. Let us not just remember her. Let her teach us. Let us become a world where no child disappears without a trace. Let us promise that no child will be forgotten. This has been a production of The Untold Trace. Subscribe for more true crime documentaries rooted in truth, empathy, and justice. Until next time, stay aware, stay kind, and stay watching.